For nearly 6 decades, HEE HAW brought hearty laughter and country music into our living rooms, turning its cast into beloved household names. With its cornfield jokes, banjo tunes, and rural charm, it wasn't just a TV show. It was a piece of Americana. But behind the hay bales and harmonies were real people, many of them quietly battling demons far from the spotlight. From shocking tragedies and personal loss to painful addictions and untimely deaths, this video takes a walk down memory lane, remembering the HEE HAW actors who have passed away over the years, and celebrating the legacies they left behind. Roy Linwood Clark. Roy Linwood Clark, born April 15, 1933 in Meherrin, Virginia, joined HEE HAW in 1969 when he was 36 years old. As co-host alongside Buck Owens, he brought unmatched musical brilliance, humor, and warmth that made him the heart of the show. His banjo-picking, gentle smile, and easygoing charm turned him into a weekly presence in homes across America.
Hey, listen here, buddy. You're accused of parking in a restricted area. Now, what do you got to say for yourself?
Your Honor, when I pulled into this park...
But off cameras, Roy's life carried quiet burdens. On November 15, 2018, Roy passed away at his home in Tulsa, Oklahoma, from complications of pneumonia at 85 years old. He was laid to rest at Memorial Park Cemetery in Tulsa, the city that later honored him with both a street and an elementary school bearing his name. Although he was best known for HEE HAW, Roy Clark also made appearances on The Tonight Show, The Beverly Hillbillies, and Evening at Pop's. His name became synonymous with versatility, a musician who could shift from country twang to classical guitar, and a performer whose presence lit up every stage he stepped on. But all the fame couldn't protect him from the struggles that came with it. He grew up in a working-class family and learned music from his father. He dropped out of school early and worked odd jobs just to survive. When fame found him, he embraced it with humility, but the demands of success brought new pressure. During HEE HAW's peak, Roy made risky investments in Branson and Las Vegas that eventually collapsed. Left with mounting debts, he was forced to tour constantly, long past the age when most performers slowed down. The endless travel wore on him physically and mentally. At home, his long marriage to Barbara Joyce Rupert endured, but was tested by years of separation. He deeply loved his children, but struggled with guilt over being gone for much of their upbringing. In his final years, weakened health and limited mobility kept him from doing what he loved most. Roy Clark gave the world laughter, music, and unforgettable memories. But behind the applause stood a man carrying quiet sorrow. His legacy reminds us that even those who make us smile often hide their deepest pain. Buck Owens, Alvis Edgar. Buck Owens Jr., born August 12, 1929, in Sherman, Texas, stepped into HEE HAW in 1969 when he was 40 years old. As co-host alongside Roy Clark, Buck brought a cool, steady presence to the show, backed by years of musical acclaim and his signature Bakersfield sound. With a red, white, and blue guitar in hand, he quickly became a weekly fixture in homes across America.
I tell you, I had a nurse before Miss Goodbody that looked like Raquel Welch and...
But behind the cheerful front was a man quietly torn by resentment and grief. On March 25, 2006, Buck passed away peacefully in his sleep at his ranch in Bakersfield, California, just hours after performing one final time at his Crystal Palace nightclub. He was 76 years old and was laid to rest at Green Lawn Southwest Cemetery in Bakersfield. Best known for HEE HAW and chart-topping hits like Act Naturally, Buck also made appearances on The Johnny Cash Show, The Ed Sullivan Show, and influenced a new generation of musicians, including Dwight Yoakam. But the fame brought little comfort. At the height of HEE HAW's success, Buck privately struggled with deep dissatisfaction. He resented how the show reshaped his image from respected country musician to television entertainer, a shift he never fully accepted. That inner conflict haunted him for years, making him feel trapped in a role that no longer reflected who he was. His personal life mirrored that emotional unrest. His marriages to Bonnie Campbell and Phyllis Buford ended in heartbreak, with family tensions and long stretches on the road straining any sense of normalcy. In 1974, tragedy struck when Don Rich, his closest friend and longtime musical partner, died in a motorcycle accident. Buck later admitted, "The music inside me died that day." Grief pushed him into a short-lived marriage to bandmate Jenna J, which quickly fell apart, followed by another attempt at stability with Jennifer Smith. Though they stayed together, Buck still battled depression and loneliness in the years that followed. After stepping away from HEE HAW in 1986, Buck shifted focus to his business ventures, radio stations, real estate, and his beloved Crystal Palace. Despite commercial success, he rarely let the public see how much he longed for peace that fame never brought. Sarah Ophelia Colley Cannon, best known as Minnie Pearl, was born on October 25, 1912, in Centerville, Tennessee. She became part of HEE HAW in 1969 when she was 57 years old, instantly winning hearts with her howdy greeting, her price-tagged hat, and her timeless Southern humor. For decades, she became one of the show's most recognizable and comforting faces.
Daddy just hates him. Oh, well, I had the same kind of problem, Victoria. But one day, I brought home a feller that looked like my daddy, and
On March 4, 1996, Minnie Pearl passed away at the age of 83, following years of health complications from a stroke she suffered in 1991. She died in Nashville and was laid to rest at Mount Hope Cemetery in Franklin, Tennessee. Although best known for her work on HEE HAW and the Grand Ole Opry, Minnie Pearl's journey was never easy. Born into a wealthy family in the lumber trade, she faced early expectations that often clashed with her creative spirit. Despite her success, she quietly battled deep insecurities, often wondering whether she was seen as a true performer or simply a comic sideshow. Her marriage to Henry Cannon lasted over 50 years, but it grew increasingly distant over time. Both led separate lives, their emotional worlds drifting apart, and behind her radiant stage smile, Minnie carried the quiet sorrow of being unable to have children, a loss she rarely spoke of. Outside the spotlight, she also endured financial embarrassment. In the late 1960s, she lent her name to Minnie Pearl's Fried Chicken, a restaurant chain that collapsed in scandal, damaging her reputation despite her innocence in the affair. It was a humiliation that left emotional scars. Her brief appearances in Ozark Jubilee and Coal Miner's Daughter gave her moments of pride, but they never silenced her fear that her talent wasn't enough. After her stroke, Minnie spent her final years in silence, far from the laughter she once brought into millions of homes. Her legacy reminds us that laughter often hides the deepest truths. Alvin Jr. Samples, born August 10, 1926 in Cumming, Georgia, joined HEE HAW in 1969 when he was 43 years old, bringing to life the lovable, slow-talking used car salesman who fumbled through ads with his now iconic BR549.
Hi, friend, Junior Samples here, the King Kong daddy of the used car world.
With his down-to-earth charm and natural timing, he quickly became one of the show's most beloved comedians. But off-screen, Junior's life was often troubled. On November 13, 1983, he died suddenly of a massive heart attack at his home in Knoxville, Tennessee. He was 57 years old. He was laid to rest in Sawney View Gardens in Cumming, Georgia. Junior was born into poverty and left school after 6th grade, spending years working tough jobs, logging, carpentry, and auto repair, just to get by. He always carried deep insecurities about his lack of education, which made his unexpected rise to fame all the more overwhelming. Reading scripts was a struggle, and the pressure of performing on national television left him frequently flustered. At home, he battled alcohol abuse and a volatile temper, which strained his marriage to his devoted wife, Grace, and created distance between him and his 5 children. His fame never translated into long-term security. Poor financial choices, heavy drinking, and a refusal to care for his worsening health, including a weight that neared 400 pounds, left him in fragile condition. In his final years, Junior faced mounting health problems and financial stress. Though he was a star, he left behind little savings and a life weighed down by regret. Junior Samples never claimed to be perfect, just honest, funny, and real. And in doing so, he reminded us that behind every laugh is a story worth hearing. Lewis Marshall Grandpa Jones. Lewis Marshall Jones, born on October 20th, 1913, in the tiny farming community of Niagara in Henderson County, Kentucky, appeared on HEE HAW at age 56 in 1969. He quickly became one of the show's most beloved faces, with his warm laugh, old-timey humor, and quick hands on the banjo.
Thank you, Will. Thank you very much. I want to sing a little tune here that I learned from a bald head.
On February 19th, 1998, at age 84, Grandpa Jones passed away at Summit Medical Center in Hermitage, Tennessee, after suffering a stroke. He was laid to rest at Luton's United Methodist Church Cemetery in Goodlettsville. Although he was best known for his musical performances and charm on HEE HAW, His life was not without hardship. Raised in a poor sharecropping family, he carried the burden of poverty from childhood. Later, despite his fame, he saw only modest financial rewards, with a net worth of around $500,000, far below what his television legacy might suggest. His marriage to Ramona Riggins, his stage partner and wife of over 30 years, was both a blessing and a source of quiet strain. The endless touring, long road trips, and the constant pressures of performing took their toll. Fame rarely gave them rest, and the emotional distance grew over the years, even as they stood side by side on stage. One of the most haunting events in Grandpa Jones's life came in 1973, when he discovered the bodies of his close friends, country performers David Stringbean, Ackerman, and his wife Estelle, after they had been brutally murdered in their home. That day scarred him deeply. He became anxious and guarded, always looking over his shoulder, even in the safety of his own house. In his final years, Grandpa Jones suffered a series of strokes that robbed him of his greatest joy, playing the banjo. Silenced by illness, the vibrant performer who once lifted spirits across the nation spent his last months unable to speak. George Smith Lindsay, born December 17, 1928, in Fairfield, Alabama, became part of HEE HAW in 1971, when he was 43 years old. He portrayed Goober Pyle, the lovable, goofy gas station attendant made famous on The Andy Griffith Show in Mayberry, RFD. His wide grin and silly charm brought wholesome laughs to HEE HAW viewers for over 2 decades.
Ma'am, listen, I just saw your new movie, Uphill All the Way, and you are...
On May 6, 2012, at 83, George Lindsay passed away in Nashville, Tennessee, after battling heart disease and related health complications. He was laid to rest in Oak Hill Cemetery in his hometown of Jasper, Alabama. Although he was best known as Goober, George spent years hoping to be recognized beyond that image. He voiced characters in Disney classics like The Aristocats, 1970, and Robin Hood, 1973, but his efforts to take on serious roles were often dismissed. Hollywood, despite his talent, refused to see past the goofy exterior. That slow rejection quietly pushed him into depression and left him feeling creatively unfulfilled. His personal life was no less complicated. George's marriage to Joanne Herbert, which began during the early days of his career, unraveled as he grew more distant and discouraged. Their divorce left him deeply saddened, though he remained a loving father to their 2 children. Later in life, he cherished his grandchildren, but the loneliness at home often lingered behind the scenes. Trying to cope, George threw himself into meaningful causes. He established the George Lindsay UNF Film Festival and gave time and resources to the Special Olympics and other Alabama charities. George Glenn Jones, born September 12, 1931, in Saratoga, Texas, brought his unmistakable voice to HEE HAW at the age of 38, leaving audiences moved by the raw emotion he carried into every note. Behind that powerful voice, however, was a life shaped by deep scars and inner chaos. On April 26, 2013, George Jones died at Vanderbilt University Medical Center in Nashville, Tennessee. The cause was respiratory failure, brought on by years of damage to his lungs. He was 81 years old and was buried at Woodlawn Memorial Park in Nashville.
4 days and a half, and usually I'll do one 3 hours. I guess.
Though best remembered for timeless hits like He Stopped Loving Her Today, George Jones's story was built on pain that began from birth. His arm broken by a doctor's mistake. Raised in the remote big thicket of Texas, he spent nights trembling in fear, forced by his alcoholic father to sing at gunpoint for drunken friends. Music became his only escape, his only refuge. Fame didn't bring peace. His marriage to country star Tammy Wynette was a dream turned tragedy, as George spiraled deeper into alcoholism and cocaine. Their home life collapsed under violent rages, long absences, and heartbreak. After the marriage ended, George sank into complete ruin, living out of his car, skeletal and lost, haunted by Tammy's absence and his failures as a man. He earned the nickname No-Show Jones for his erratic behavior and missed performances. One infamous moment came when Tammy hid the car keys to keep him from buying liquor. So George drove a lawnmower miles down the road to a bar. These stories became legend, but they hit a broken man, one who often didn't care if he lived or died. After a near-fatal crash in 1999 while driving drunk, George finally chose sobriety. He lived his last years clean, but the damage to his body was permanent. He struggled to breathe, his energy fading, though the music still lived in him. Loretta Lynn. Loretta Lynn, born April 14, 1932, in Butcher Hollow, Kentucky, appeared on HEE HAW in 1969 when she was 37 years old. She brought heartfelt, rustic songs reflecting the lives and emotions of rural American women. With her distinctive voice and genuine presence, Loretta quickly became a symbol of the show, winning over audiences by sharing her real-life experiences through music.
And this girl come walking up and she said, had a camera. And he says, "No pictures, please, no pictures." And she said, "I want a picture."
On October 4th, 2022, Loretta passed away peacefully in her sleep at her ranch in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, at 90 years old. She was buried in the family cemetery on her Hurricane Mills ranch in Tennessee. Although best known for HEE HAW, Loretta's career spanned decades, with hits like Coal Miner's Daughter and You Ain't Woman Enough. She endured a turbulent marriage to Oliver Doolittle Lynn, who struggled with alcoholism and infidelity. Despite her demanding tour schedule and personal hardships, including the tragic loss of her son Jack and daughter Betty, she persevered. In her later years, Loretta faced serious health issues, including a stroke, a broken hip, and recurring pneumonia, which led her to retreat from public life. She left behind an estimated net worth of $65 million and a rich legacy, a story of resilience, courage, and a voice that carried the pain and strength of a generation. David Aikman. Aikman, born June 17, 1915, in Annville, Kentucky, became part of HEE HAW in 1969 when he was 54 years old. He played the lanky, good-natured country comic with a banjo in hand, known for his high pants, old-time humor, and gentle grin. His blend of pickin' and punchlines made him one of the show's most beloved founding members. But on the night of November 10, 1973, tragedy struck. After returning from a performance at the Grand Ole Opry, Stringbean and his wife Estelle were ambushed and murdered in their modest Tennessee home. He was 58 years old. The couple was laid to rest side by side at Forest Lawn Memorial Gardens in Goodlettsville. Although he was best known for HEE HAW, Stringbean's talents stretch back decades. He performed with Bill Monroe's Bluegrass Boys, played the Opry, and recorded hits like Chewing Gum and I Wonder Where Wanda Went. Despite his fame, he lived simply and feared poverty, a fear born during the Great Depression. That fear led him to stash cash at home, a habit that tragically contributed to his murder. His death shocked the nation and devastated friends like Grandpa Jones, who discovered the bodies. Though Stringbean left behind little in material wealth, his worth wasn't measured in dollars. He gave the world laughter drawn from a humble heart, and left behind a sorrow still felt to this day. Archie Campbell. Archie Campbell, born January 7, 1914, in Smithville, Tennessee, joined HEE HAW in 1969 when he was 55 years old, quickly becoming a fan favorite for his witty storytelling, signature "that's bad, that's good" jokes, and his folksy charm. As the show's resident humorist and singer, Archie's warm smile and quick wit brought comfort and laughter to millions. Archie passed away on February 28, 1987, at the age of 72, after battling cancer. He died in Nashville, Tennessee, and was buried in Glenwood Cemetery in Powell, Knox County, Tennessee. Though best known for his work on HEE HAW, Archie's career began long before. He was a respected Grand Ole Opry star and an accomplished songwriter, penning hits like The Last Letter. Despite his success, Archie's life was marked by personal hardships, including struggles with health and the pressure of balancing a public career with private challenges. His dedication to his craft never waned, even as he faced his final years with courage. Archie's humor often masked a man who knew pain but chose to give joy. Gordy Tapp. Gordon Robert Gordy Tapp, born June 4, 1922 in London, Ontario, Canada, became part of HEE HAW in 1969 when he was 47 years old. He played Cousin Clem, the simple, naive farmer whose gentle humor and easygoing nature became a highlight of the show. With his sharp timing and down-home charm, Gordy helped define the comedic heart of HEE HAW for over 2 decades. On December 18, 2016, Gordy Tapp passed away in Burlington, Ontario, at the age of 94 after battling recurring bouts of pneumonia. Gordy Tapp was cremated, but the location of his ashes is unknown. Gordy had a long and diverse career before joining the show. He rose to fame in Canada on the popular variety program Country Hoedown, and later made appearances on the Lawrence Welk Show and the Bobby Vinton Show in 1977. Yet behind his comedic success, Gordy often felt typecast, longing to be recognized as a versatile entertainer beyond rural comedy. This unfulfilled dream quietly weighed on him throughout his life. His decades-long marriage to Helen was a cornerstone of his personal life, but the constant touring and demands of television often kept him away during important family moments. In his later years, Gordy focused heavily on charitable work, supporting veterans' causes and medical fundraisers. Gordy Tapp's legacy lives on in the simple, heartfelt humor he shared, proving that the truest laughter comes from the most genuine souls. Dottie West. Dorothy Marie Marsh, known as Dottie West, was born on October 11, 1932, in Frog Pond, Tennessee. She became part of HEE HAW in 1969 when she was 37 years old, her fiery red hair and heartfelt voice making her stand out as one of the show's most memorable guest performers. Her songs, filled with raw emotion, spoke of love, struggle, and resilience, stories she knew all too well.
Saturday nights, they literally my mom would roll the rug back, and the neighbors would come over because we were...
On September 4th, 1991, at the age of 58, Dottie West passed away following a devastating car accident on her way to the Grand Ole Opry. After multiple surgeries and days of struggle, she took her final breath at Vanderbilt University Medical Center in Nashville. She was laid to rest at Mount View Cemetery in McMinnville, Tennessee. Dottie rose to fame with hits like Here Comes My Baby and her powerful duets with Kenny Rogers, including Every Time Two Fools Collide. But behind the curtain, her personal life was filled with heartbreak. As a child, she endured years of physical and emotional abuse from her alcoholic father, trauma that left lasting scars and contributed to the loss of her first child at just 15. Her first marriage to Bill West, who helped her during her early career, ended after infidelity tore them apart. Later marriages to Byron Metcalf and Al Winters brought more pain than peace, leaving her often feeling alone despite her fame. Financial troubles worsened when her lavish lifestyle, a sprawling mansion, expensive cars, and constant spending left her bankrupt by 1990. She lost almost everything and was forced to start over, relying on friends for support. Tammy Wynette, born Virginia Wynette Pugh on May 5, 1942, in Itawamba County, Mississippi, first appeared on HEE HAW in 1969 at the age of 27. Known as the First Lady of Country Music, she brought a tearful, heartfelt voice that gave women a powerful voice in country music. With timeless songs like Stand By Your Man and Divorce, Tammy's performances captured both strength and vulnerability, making her one of the show's most unforgettable guests.
And the #1 record at the time, Don't Touch Me. And she talked to me and told me that there was nothing to be afraid of, that everybody...
On April 6, 1998, Tammy Wynette passed away at her Nashville home due to heart failure. She was 55 years old and was laid to rest at Woodlawn Memorial Park in Nashville. Beyond her appearances on HEE HAW, Tammy's career was legendary, with 17 #1 hits and multiple Grammy Awards that defined her as a voice of resilience. Yet her success was shadowed by personal battles. Tammy lost her father when she was just 9 months old and grew up in poverty, helping her family pick cotton while clinging to dreams of music. Her first marriage at 17 quickly turned into hardship, as she struggled to provide for her children while working as a hairdresser and chasing a career in Nashville. Nights were often filled with exhaustion and tears, long before success found her. Her marriage to George Jones, while iconic in country music, was scarred by his alcoholism, violence, and destructive rages. The marriage collapsed under the weight of addiction and heartbreak, leaving deep emotional scars. Later, her final husband and manager, George Ritchie, controlled every aspect of her life, a relationship that often left her feeling isolated and powerless. Tammy's health struggles were relentless. After numerous surgeries, she became dependent on heavy pain medication, battling addiction in silence as her body and spirit weakened. By the time of her death, her finances had dwindled to less than $1 million, a stark contrast to her towering influence in country music. These stars lived for more than just fame. Behind the scenes were stories marked by deep sorrow and personal battles. Their impact lives on, but their journeys leave us asking, is fame truly worth the cost? Let us know what you think in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more classic movie stories.